G'day. Today I'm going to go through installing a French drain. It's a cheap, effective DIY way to improve drainage at your section. At the moment the section is really soggy. Right, let's get into what you're going to need. First off, some weed mat. Second thing is some scoria, some gravel or some stones. You're going to need about 10 kilos of stones per metre of run of your drain. And if you're going to use the pit method that I'm going to use, you're going to need about another 40 or 50 kilos of stones for that too. Next, a spade. You're going to be seeing a lot of your spade. Power drill with a bit that's at least 8 to 10 mils or a quarter of an inch. Next, you're going to need some PVC glue. Next, you're going to need some PVC pipe. That's just down pipe, but we use it for drainage as well. Next, you're going to need a couple of pegs or a couple of posts. These are just for tying string between to make sure you get your line straight. Next, you're going to need some string. And last, I highly recommend you have some beer. If you can afford a better beer than flame, I recommend you do that. Right, next you want to put your two pegs in the ground and run a piece of string between them. It's really important that the end where you want your drainage to go is lower than the other end. This is so the water will run down into your pit hole or out to wherever you're draining it to. They say that you have to drop at least a centimetre for every 10 metres of run, but I'm going triple that just to be safe. Here's your bit of string. Now to get my spade. Alright, here's the start of me digging the hole. You want to start at the far end where your water's going to drain to, and what you want to do is go along with your spade and cut into the ground. Cut, cut, cut. Same down both sides. Then you go along and dig it out, starting at the far end and then working your way back. What that does is creates a really tidy drain hole that clean lines down both sides. The other thing that does is means the grass comes out clean. I'm going to try and keep the grass as intact as possible, so when I'm done, try lay it back on top and stamp it down. But you can just make a big old mess and dig it all out and plant some grass seed afterwards if you like. If this doesn't go great, that's what I'm going to do. You just want to dig out your hole roughly first, and then I'm going to come back later and clean out all the bits you can see in there. Right, I've pretty much reached the halfway point of digging out my trench. Quite a nice straight line. As you can see, I've cut out the lines up the side so that as I'm working my way up with the spade, it's coming out nice and clean. All those blocks of grass that hopefully just fit back in there later on today. Now I've reached the critical halfway point. It's really important at this point you stop and drink some beer. That's what I'm about to do. Here we have a flame beer. Indigenous to New Zealand, most commonly found in the western parts of the Auckland region. 5.2% get burnt by flame. Right, so I've finished my trench all the way, nice and straight. I'm taking out the pegs and the string, then I'm going to go along and clean out all the dirt. Just make it as clean as possible the whole way down, just all those scraggly bits lying around. Alright, now we've got this beautiful trench, we need to give all that water somewhere to go, and you've got three options here. First is to take it out to the street, or connect it to an existing drain. We don't have any existing drainage, and our power and internet go through our front yard, so I'm not going to dig that up. Second option is to install a water catchment system. These are pretty expensive, but give you a lot of free water for your garden. The third, and this is what I'm going to do, is you dig a pit for the water to pool into and then seep into the earth. First step, dig a really big hole. Right, next off you want to glue together your PVC pipes. It's pretty easy. These downpipes already have a beveled end so they click straight into each other. My PVC glue in the bottle comes with a little brush on the top. Basically you're just going to brush around there the whole way around, twist it around, brush it on, try not to have dirt on it like I do, and then click it in. Once you've done that, you don't want to move it for 15 minutes, you want to let that glue set for at least that long. Right, so what you want to do next is lay your pipe in the hole. It has to be at least 15 minutes after you've glued your pipe together that you start moving it around, otherwise it won't be well sealed. And the reason we're doing this now is we're looking for points where we have to dig it in deeper. Sometimes there'll be a part a bit along the way where the pipe's beached up on a bit of dirt, just like there. You probably can't see that, but it's suspended up there, suspended down there because there's a little lump right there. So I'm going to dig out underneath that, and there's another one right at the end too. You want it to have a nice smooth flow. Once I've done that, I'm going to put some water from a hose in that end, just to make sure it quickly comes out the other end, because if that doesn't work, this is all a waste of time. Excellent, so I sprayed the hose in the other end for about 10 seconds, and about 10 seconds later it all starts pouring out here. You don't want to spray the hose for too long, because you don't want the hole here filling up with too much water just yet. Yep, this is going to win. Right, so now the hole's lined with weed mat. You don't have to do a real tidy job, you don't have to push it right to the bottom. Just stick it in there when you pour stones in it, that'll push it to the bottom. Now to pour stones in. Right, so what I've done is poured one bag of stones in there and then folded the weed mat over the top of it. Then I'm going to put more stones on top, just about another couple inches. The reason the stones are in there is to give the water something to drain through. The weed mat is there because otherwise over time water will bring along silt, and that'll fill in the gaps between the stones and the stones won't be able to drain. Right, next up I've laid weed mat down the entire trench and I've started to put stones in. It's getting pretty windy, so the weed mat's folding on itself, so just as I go down I'm having to pull it apart to pour the stones in. Just going to throw a bunch in there and then rake them out evenly. Right, so I've laid down my weed mat, put in a couple of inches of stones, I've put my pipe in the hole. What I'm going to do now is drill a hole about every 30 or 40 centimetres. It doesn't have to be too accurate, but what I'm going to do is go the whole way along, drilling the holes in the top. Then when I've got to the end, I'm going to spin the pipe 180 degrees so that the holes are facing directly down. This is important. If your holes aren't at the bottom, when this fills up with water, it won't go straight into the pipe, and your pipe will float up and it'll be terrible. So drill your holes at the top and turn it 180. Right, so I've drilled holes all along the top and now spun it 180, so all those holes are at the bottom. Then the end weed mat, I've pulled it over and rubber banded it around the end of the pipe, because you don't want sediment and silt getting into the pipe. All I'm going to do now is layer on a bunch more stones. I'm going to fill the end of the trench with stones, and cover the pipe with stones the whole way down, inside the weed mat. Then I'm going to fold the weed mat over, lay more weed mat on it, then put some topsoil back on. Cool, we're getting close to finishing. So it was weed mat, then stones, then pipe, then stones, then more weed mat. I'm going to put a few stones on the top of this, just because I've got some spare. You don't really need to. After that, the soil goes back on, and we're draining. This is the finished product. It's a bit of a mess. It'll take a few months to grass over and look normal, and I've bogged up the section walking around in my gumboots all day. Total of about 5 hours work, and it's going to start paying dividends straight away. Next time it rains, it's just going to take all that rainwater away instead of flooding the section like it always has. Total cost has been about 200 New Zealand dollars, which is about 160 US, so definitely worth it. That's for a 15 metre run that I've done today. Give it a go. I welcome any feedback or comments. Have a good day. Cheers.